Good evening.
Hey guys. Hey.
We're glad to be back for another Health Talk with the Mott session. We do these we try to get it out in the first week of the month.
Yeah, first Thursday of the month.
Yeah. So we're glad to be back to be able to have this open forum and chat with you guys and talk about health just in general, health and wellness. That's one of the things that we're passionate about, is sharing certain things about how we can live more healthy in today's society, because it's not easy. So tonight's topic is actually going to be living better using supplements. So I'm going to touch on a few things, and then Dana's got some things to add, and then towards the end we'll take some Q&A for those still on with us. So just some of the things, like we got back from Young Living's convention, as people who probably follow us probably know. And one of the things that I loved about it is they gave a lot of education on health and wellness. As people might know, this is also what we do as a business, but I feel like that education is probably the most important thing because it affects our day-to-day lives just as much. So I actually stole this quote from Dr. Jim Bob, who's a chiropractor who actually taught a class that was using supplements to support the whole body.
He's phenomenal. If you have not listened to or heard some of his things, find him on YouTube. Dr. Jim Bob Hagerton.
Yeah. But one of the things he mentioned, I thought this was very interesting, is the way that we live nowadays. It's almost as if we live like we're trying to postpone death as much as possible. And sometimes we look for that longevity, so we look to stay alive as long as possible, and there's nothing wrong with that. But we might overlook the quality. So one of the things that he mentioned was try to live better instead of trying not to die quicker. And so that's kind of our theme here, because we want to take care of our bodies. We want to feel good along the way. We want to be able to enjoy things in everyday life, not just mosey on through the day-to-day, and not, have our bodies feel the way and operate the way that they should. So why would someone need to supplement or use supplements? And it's very simple, because most of the time we don't get all of the vitamins and nutrition that we need out of our food. And that might be either because of poor diet or lack of it being available in our area, or whatever the reason is. Just typically we don't get enough of what we need out of the foods that we eat.
And just to add to that, even if you do live where you have abundance of vegetables, fruits, fresh foods and things like that, you still are probably not getting everything that you need when it comes to nutrients. And one thing that I was going to share, it talks about nowadays you would have to eat 8 oranges to derive the same amount of vitamin A as our grandparents would have gotten in just one. And the reason for this is because the depletion in our soil. We no longer have the nutrients, the vitamins, and the minerals in our soil. So thus our fruits, our vegetables, our fresh foods, they're not as nutrient based, and they're not going to have as much in them. And so when they don't have enough in them, we're not getting enough in our bodies. And sadly, this is really affecting not only our generation, but also our children. Actually, our children are estimated to be the first generation that are not going to live as long as their parents. And it's due to the lack of nutrients. They're not, so many of our poor children, even if they're eating healthy, even if they're getting a lot of stuff, they are not getting enough nutrients in their bodies. That's why they're staying sick. That's why they are having issues when it comes to allergies and some of these other things, that a lot of it can be prevented. It can be prevented. And if you go years and years and years with your body not getting what it needs, over time, that's when we have all these chronic illnesses that are developing and becoming more abundant in different people. So it's so important that you get supplements and nutrients in your body just so it can function the way it needs to function. We're not even talking about let's take you to a whole nother level. We're talking just to get what your body was designed to need to function normally.
Yeah, I was going to kind of touch on that, because there are certain things that the body needs: air, food, and water, to operate efficiently the way that it should, because our bodies were created to operate efficiently. They were created for perfect, so to speak. But there are a lot of environmental factors that take away from that. So it's important that we're getting enough rest, that we're eating the proper foods, and that we're taking in enough water. But also some supplements can help. So one of the things I want individuals to keep in mind is just we're not focusing on symptoms, but rather we want to support systems in the body. So that it's almost like a car. They give the analogy of how you check different systems in the car, and you might do maintenance on the car to keep it operating the way that it should. So that's the same way with our bodies. There's certain things that our bodies need to take in on a regular basis to operate the way that it should. So where would one start then when we're talking about supplements? The very first thing that they talked about was a fish oil, and how important it is to have fish oil. Like I remember as a kid having cod liver oil, and I hated it. I did not like the taste. I don't mind it so much as an adult now, but I did not like it. But one of the things that fish oil is really important for is it builds healthy cholesterol within the body. And you'll hear sometimes people say that cholesterol is bad, which is not necessarily true. You do have bad cholesterol, but you also have good cholesterol. And part of what that good cholesterol is good for is repairing and maintenance within the body. So remember how I talked about we're created for perfect. Our bodies were created to operate at a certain type of efficiency. Well, due to environmental factors, diet, or whatever other issues, it constantly needs to be rebuilt and repaired so that we can, feel better and operate the way that we should. Taking things such as fish oil, which has things like omega-3 in it, which is very good for the brain, is a great way to start in repairing and maintaining the body. So with that in mind, one of the ones that I recommend that I just started using and I love it is Omega Gize as a fish oil. It's made by Young Living, and it is a fish oil that has all of the like the omega-3 that you need and all of the other powerful nutrients to help you build that healthy cholesterol. And one of the things, one of the reasons that I use such a product is because it is essential oil infused. And that makes a huge difference when it comes to supplements, because one might look at maybe the back of the ingredients and says, hey, the one that I bought from the store has higher numeric values. Why would I not use this one as opposed to maybe one that's infused with like an essential oil? And it's very simple because of a word called bioavailability. Now what bioavailability is it's actually pretty cool. They take the oils and they infuse it within the nutrients and the supplements, because oils have very tiny molecules and they're able to penetrate the cellular wall. So regardless of whether you have good gut function, or regardless of whether your body is operating the way that it should, it's going to be able to absorb more of the nutrients because it's infused with essential oils. I was looking up, and the research says that on average, the average person is only able to take in 15 to 20% of their supplements, of most store-bought supplements.
So a lot of times these companies, they're putting these numbers to make it higher, so a consumer that's not educated can look at it and be like, hey, look, I'm getting more. But the reality is your body is not absorbing more, and sometimes it might not even be absorbing any of it. Right. Because if it's not food, our body doesn't know what to do with it, and it just disperses of it. So it has to be a whole food supplement. If it is not a whole food supplement, your body's doing nothing with it. So thus why you go to maybe a CVS or a vitamin shop and you can find a cheaper version of a certain vitamin. Well, it's because you're wasting your money, because it's not being absorbed into the body. You're not getting what your body needs. And so again, that bioavailable, having those essential oils infused in the whole food supplements is going to make it more available in the body. Your body's going to use more of those nutrients, and they're going to be absorbed.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tashina, for the share.
Yeah, thank you. Those supplements, one that is infused with oils, you're going to typically absorb between 70 and 80%. So the absorption rate is way higher.
Way higher.
So that's why when I did the research, why these supplements stuck out to me so much. One of the other things that it's important to take in is vitamin D. So there's a couple ways that we get vitamin D. One is through sunlight. And we think of normally vitamin D as being associated with building healthy calcium levels within the body, which is great for our bones. But vitamin D also is great for our muscles. So I was actually doing the research, and calcium is good. Calcium and vitamin D are good for unlocking muscles to help them relax. So think about the average human today is stressed out most of the time. If you are an active person, you might have some type of muscle soreness or tightness. Vitamin D is going to be great for helping those muscles to relax. So, like I mentioned, in a high-strung world, that would be one reason to take a supplement like vitamin D. I mean, everyone needs that, and you're going to get a certain amount from being out in the sun, but it's also very important to supplement it with some type of supplement in your life. The next one I have are probiotics. So probiotics are extremely important because they affect your gut, and if your gut is not healthy, then the rest of your body typically will not be as well. The numbers that I saw, it was very interesting because it's the digestive system makes up 1/3 of your immune system and 1/3 of your nervous system. So those are pretty high numbers, or a pretty healthy part of your body. So when you think of supporting the gut, probiotics are very, very important. One of the ones that I like to use is actually called Life 9. There's 9 different strains of bacteria, healthy bacteria, to help support the gut. And it has over 17 billion, with a V, different types of cultures. And one of the things that's so great about it is the fact that these are time released. So you think of the way that our digestive system works. Most people, hey Prentice, what's going on?
Hey.
Most of people know that we have stomach acid that helps to break down our food for digestion. But when you take like maybe a supplement that's not time released, usually most of that will get eaten up in your stomach acid in the top portion of your gut. So something that's time released is going to make it through the stomach acid, and it's going to be able to make it lower within your digestive tract, so that you're going to be able to benefit and get that healthy bacteria in your lower GI, which is just as important as having it in the upper portion of your digestive tract. So I really love Life 9, or take some type of probiotic, because it's very important, especially when the foods that we eat are not the greatest. Multivitamins. So here's the interesting thing about multivitamins. People are kind of split on whether they're necessary or not. I feel like this, like most of your vitamins that you get should come from your food.
Absolutely.
It should come from your diet. But if you're not getting those, or all the vitamins that you need, or to make sure that you get those, absolutely take a multivitamin every single day. Because remember, this supplementation is about adding what your body is not getting on a day-to-day basis.
Right. So before we talked about so if you are eating healthy,